After 2 years, tennis is finally back at SW19, as the 2021 Wimbledon Championships are days away. Will we see another surprise champion like we did at the French, or will things return back to order with reascension of a former champion? I'll break down the draw, go over the juicy first round matches and projected clashes, then give my picks and predictions here on Grand Slam Tennis News Today. World number 1 Ash Barty will begin against Carlos Suarez Navarro and could next play Aryna Sabalenka. Brit Jo Konta is her first possible seeded opponent, followed by Roland Garros champion Krejcikova in the round of 16. Barty might face Bibi Andreescu in the quarters and in the semis Aryna Sabalenka. Ash is then set to meet second seed Sabalenka in the finals. Looking at Barty's section is nothing really too out of the ordinary. Of course, the opener with Suarez Navarro sticks out, and the Spaniard is actually relatively comfortable on the grass, making the round of 16 here in 2019. Neither Blinkova nor Babosh have had success as of late on tour, so she should be fine in the second round. I see Barty either playing Konta or Siniakova in the third round, and those two actually meet in round 1. This will be a tough one to pick, as Jo always seems to do well at Wimbledon, with grass being her best surface. She actually picked up her first title in a while a few weeks ago in Nottingham. Meanwhile, Siniakova does relatively well on the surface as well, and reached the Bad Homburg finals. Konta and Siniakova actually played in the second round in 2019 at Wimbledon, which Jo took in straight. I will pick Konta to come through once again, mostly due to her having the crowd behind her to give her that extra boost. At the bottom, there's Bertens and Krejcikova as the other two seeds. Bertens meets Marta Kostyuk, who had a mini breakout at Roland Garros, where she upset Muguruza en route to the second week. I'll pick her to beat Bertens, as Kiki hasn't won a single match on tour all year and is evidently ready to retire from pro tennis. Anastasia Sevastova is there for Kostyuk in the second round, as the Latvian had a good run at Eastbourne, reaching the quarters. Kostyuk and Sevastova actually played in Eastbourne, which Anastasia took in 3. I'd pick the more experienced Sevastova to also come through in this hypothetical matchup. French Open champ Barbara Krejcikova is at the bottom, and she hasn't played since her triumph in the City of Lights. She's kind of a question mark because she hasn't played a single tour-level main draw match on grass. She did win the Wimbledon doubles title in 2018, but there's still that question of how her singles game will translate on this surface. Also, how will she handle being a Grand Slam champion? Barbara has an interesting opening test against young Dane talent Clara Tauson. Tauson hasn't had the best results as of late, but she's still a player that seems to elevate her game when playing those higher ranked players, so the Czech woman should truly be on high alert. Still, I think that she'll get through this early test and reach the third round. Here, I do think that either Sevastova or Kostyuk will send her home. Ash is the clear favorite in her section, but the hip is a big question. While her team says that she's improving day by day, her body could perhaps break down in competition, especially with her not playing the tune-up event. Barty says that grass is her favorite surface, so she will be comfortable here, but I think that the first match against Carla will be tricky. Should she get by that and also that tricky third rounder against Konta or Siniakova, she could go on a good run. I am hesitant to have her come through the quarter, even though she does have the experience on her side, and thus pick Jo Konta to advance. Andreescu's section is next, and at the top is 12th seed Victoria Azarenka. I see a popcorn third round matchup between her and Anett Kontaveit, who reached the Eastbourne finals. Anett faces Vondrousova in the first round though, which could be tough for the Estonian. I still believe that Kontaveit will advance past that first rounder but fall to Vika should that match actually happen, as Azarenka, unlike Anett, knows how to truly go deep in the majors when need be. Eastbourne champion Jelena Ostapenko could have a rematch versus Daria Kasatkina in the second round. Kasatkina nearly beat Ostapenko in the Eastbourne quarters, but Jelena managed to pull off the comeback. Ostapenko though has the trickier first round match, playing talented young Canadian Leylah Annie Fernandez. I think this factor, plus Daria having that chip on her shoulder from Eastbourne, will put the Russian through to the next round. Looking at Bianca, she has a tricky first round against Alizé Cornet, who actually beat her in Berlin a week ago. Grass is not Bianca's best surface, so she's surely prone for an early exit to Alizé. Even if she does come through this match, I'd have her losing to Kasatkina in the third round. Then I pick Victoria Azarenka to pull through and make the quarters. Third seed Alina Svitolina has kind of a tricky draw for her standards, as Alison van Uytvanck is a dangerous grass court player and actually beat Muguruza at Wimbledon in 2018. American Amanda Anisimova is also there, who had a good showing in Germany this week. Then 30th seed Paula Badosa is there too, and while grass isn't her best surface, she nearly took out Alina in their Eastbourne match. Moving down, former Wemby quarterfinalists Muchova and Pavlyuchenkova reside and could play each other in the third. However, both have potentially difficult second rounds. Muchova 2018 quarterfinalist Camila Giorgi and Pavlyuchenkova Kristina Pliskova, who's especially dangerous on grass. I still think that both seeded women will advance, but pick Muchova to come through and make the quarterfinals. Seven-time champion Serena Williams will open against Alexandra SASNOVICH and could next meet compatriot Bernarda Pera. Williams is projected to meet 2018 champion Kerber in the third round, then in the round of 16 Belinda Bencic. In the quarters, Serena might face Aryna Sabalenka, followed by Barty in the semis. Lastly, in the finals, Aryna Sabalenka. 9th seed Bencic looks pretty comfortable on the grass, making a final in Berlin last week. She's projected to face Coco Gauff in the third round. Bencic's path to that match is easier, with Coco potentially playing 2016 semifinalist Vesnina second. I do believe that Coco will reach the third and take out Bencic to make her second consecutive second week at SW19. When the draw came out, everyone was looking at the potential third round between Kerber and Serena. Angie, who had been struggling earlier in the season, seems to be rounding back into form recently, pulling off an excellent win over Kvitova en route to that Bog onboard title. I do think, however, that Angie might have some tough matches ahead of her early. First, Stojanovic, who nearly won Nottingham. Then there's Anna Konta, who's had a nice resurgence this year thus far, and could surely beat the three-time major champ. However, Angie does seem to be peaking just in time for Wimbledon, so these players might not be a problem for her. Looking at Serena Williams, she plays SASNOVICH, whose best surface is grass. The Belarusian actually beat Petra Kvitova at Wimbledon 3 years ago. However, SASNOVICH's ranking and game has fell since then, and I think Williams will get by without too much fanfare. Bernarda Pera, who is a likely second round opponent, is very good, but can't close out a big match to save her life, so Serena is likely to win that one too. The Serena-Kerber match, should it happen, will be very tough for both players. I give the advantage to Williams with her having more momentum and experience lately in the bigger major matches. Also, I'm sure the 2018 Wimbledon final is still heavily present on her mind and she'll be out for revenge. If Coco and Serena meet, which I predict will be the case, I feel like Gauff might not play her typical game and falter a bit if she were to play her idol. Yes, she did great against Venus, but Serena could be a different story. I have Williams coming through to the quarters. Moving down to the bottom half, we see an intriguing first-round matchup between Karolina Pliskova and Roland Garros semifinalist Tamara Zidansek. Pliskova has been struggling all 2021, so Tamara can surely pull off the upset. However, I'm unsure of if she'll like competing on grass, and I know for sure Karolina does, so I'll give the edge to the Czech woman. Right below is another good matchup between Vekic and Potapova, and I'll go through Croatia to pull through. Alison Riss is one of the seeds here, and I'm going to be blunt and say that I believe she'll fall in the opening round. Martinkova, who reached the quarterfinals in Birmingham, has been looking solid this grass season, while Riss has been struggling to string together some matches. Alison also has the pressure of having to defend those quarterfinal points from 2 years ago. In the second round, I picked Martinkova and Henri to play, with Teresa making the round of 32 to face Pliskova. Now, the lower part of this section is truly insane, as we have Jessica Pegula playing Caroline Garcia, Berlin champ Ludmila Samsonova versus Kaya Kanepi, and then Sloane Stephens and Petra Kvitova. I think Pegula, being the more experienced at the higher levels right now, would make the third round. The Stephens-Kvitova match will be hard to pick because while grass isn't necessarily Sloane's best surface, she does have the potential to do well here. Kvitova, as we know, loves playing here at Wimbledon, being a two-time champion. However, she hasn't made the quarters here since 2014, and she's more vulnerable in those earlier rounds. However, unlike Sloane, Petra does have some grass court matches in this year, so I give her the slight edge. Britt Heather Watson is there too, which could also be very dangerous. I predict that in this section we'll have the all-Czech showdown between Karolina and Petra, and pick the 10th seed Kvitova making the last 8. 4th seed Sonia Kenin will start against qualifier Wang Jingyu and could meet Christina Michel. In the third, there's 29th seed Kudermetova, and in the fourth, Elise Mertens. Kenin might face Pliskova in the quarters, followed by Sabalenka in the semifinals. Then lastly, Barty in the championship. I feel like this section will provide the most opportunity to a lower ranked or lower seeded player to do some damage. Sonia did play better at Roland Garros, but I'm still wary about her play. She, I believe, has a good opportunity to make another decent run, as there's no real major threats in the first 2 rounds for her. American Danielle Collins lurks, whose game should go well with the grass though. Kudermetova is there too, but I predict Victoria Goyevich will upset her, as she she looked pretty impressive in Eastbourne. I will pick Collins though to reach the 4th round and beat Cannon should they play. Another American, Madison Keys, I feel has a great chance to go deep, as Mertens in the 3rd round is very beatable. Madison I think will come through and make the quarters in this section. Next up is Iga Swiatek's section, and for the 2nd consecutive slam, she's set to face Muguruza in the 4th round. Iga though does have a tricky 1st round against Sue Hsieh, who beat Halep here in 2018. I do think though that Iga should be fine to at least reach the round of 16, although Marie Boskova or even Zvonareva might be tough 2nd rounders for her. Moving down, we have 5-time champion Venus Williams, who plays Mihaela Buzarnescu. Grass is Venus's best surface, but she is riding a 6-match losing streak, plus her health is a big question mark because she did pull out of some grass court tune-ups. Buzarnescu is also very good on grass and came close to making some deep runs at Wimbledon in the past few years. Venus, if on, can win, but I'm going with the Romanian. Birmingham champion Anstra Burr is there as well, so her and Mihaela would be tough 3rd rounds for Garbiñe. I do think that she can weather the storms though and have her advancing. If Garbiñe and Iga meet, I go with the Spaniard because she's much more comfortable on grass, as Swiatek has only played 1 tour event on the surface. Defending champion Simona Halep would have been the 2nd seed, but she withdrew due to a calf injury sustained in Rome. Therefore, Aryna Sabalenka's path is next to observe, and after playing Monica Niculescu in the 1st round, she could meet Brit Katie Boulter. Then Russia Alexandrova is there in the 3rd, followed by Greek woman Maria Sakkari. Iga is a possible quarters opponent and Cannon could be there for her in the semis. Lastly, Ash Barty in the finals. Sabalenka's draw isn't necessarily horrible. She should get by her first 2 rounds easily, but in the 3rd Alexandrova lurks, who is dangerous on the surface. Then afterward are the always tough Sakkari and Rybakina. I quite honestly don't believe Aryna would get that elusive quarterfinals appearance. If Alexandrova doesn't get her, I think that Elena or Maria will. Also, that Sakkari-Rybakina match will be a great one if it happens, and if so, I'd go with Elena as her game seems to be really rounding into form lately. For my quarterfinal picks, I have Konta vs Azarenka, Muchova vs Serena, Kvitova vs Keys, and Muguruza vs Rybakina. Then in the semifinals, I picked Serena vs Azarenka with Williams advancing, then Keys against Muguruza with Madison winning. Finally, in the championship, I have Serena taking the title. Serena has reached the final here at Wimbledon in the past 4 years, so it's clear that her game complements the grass. As I said, Kerber could be a potentially tricky 3rd round, but should she get by that, I think that it would give her a good boost for the rest of the tournament. I picked Azarenka to make it as far as I put her because she did look good in Berlin and Bad Homburg, and I feel that her draw is pretty favorable for her to do some damage. Then Madison Keys, as I mentioned earlier, has a great opportunity to go deep once more, especially with grass suiting her game perfectly. Her game also seems to be coming back around as well. Then Muguruza, who although didn't go that far in Berlin, still looks solid, and I feel that she's been knocking on the door for a good slam run this season. I think here would be the perfect place for that as she's comfortable on the lawns of England. I know some of you all might be surprised that I had Keys beating Muguruza in the semis, but the American does own a superior 4-1 head-to-head over the Spaniard. Ultimately, I picked Serena to raise the title over Madison should they meet, because nerves could be a bigger factor for her than Williams, as evident by her 2017 US Open final flop. Previews aside, here are my top 1st round popcorn matches. Players in the bottom halves of the women's draw will open on Monday, while those in the top half begin on Tuesday. Kvitova, Stevens, Sabalenka, Swiatek, Venus, and Muguruza are the big names in action on day 1. That's all for this tournament preview, and let me know what you think about the draw and my predictions in the comment section below. Do you think Serena and Keys are solid picks? If not, who are your finalists? Also, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you're notified whenever we post the men's preview. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time here on Grand Slam Tennis News Today.